share more of an analysis after we get into the questions, because I think I'll probably do better that way. I want to acknowledge some people. First of all, Shelly, raise your hand. Shelly is a former staff person in the office of State Representative Corey Mason. If you're looking for someone that politics and politicians should be like, it's people like Corey, people like Shelly who make that happen. She just finished yesterday working on the recall campaign. Quit her job, left to go organize people in the mean streets of Kenosha. And for those who didn't see yesterday, went and kicked ass with a big victory. So. Sitting very close to her is Laura McElroy. And Laura, while she was not in Wisconsin during this, because for some reason she got the fuck out. Laura has been in the trenches in Wisconsin progressive politics for a while before this, and there's a lot of people who've gone before those of us who were there in Madison, not only doing the work of organizing people and working to build progressive power in the campaigns before, the electoral work before, but really going back decades. And so I want to say thank you, Laura, for the work that you've done. I'm going to continue with the thank yous and say, Jeremy, I'm a huge fan of working in these times. I've been a reader since the day it debuted. If you go back about a year and a half, really early on, there's a story by a guy by the name of Roger Pipe, who's a labor journalist from Wisconsin. And he did a piece on my home union, the Teaching Assistants Association, the nation's oldest grad student worker union. And the TAA has a really proud tradition going back 40 years of left-wing, militant, member-driven, progressive unionism. And that cannot be denied, the role of culture and building institutions that make it possible to do mass mobilization. And I'll come back to that. It's a great read if you want to check it out and give a few more clicks to these times. And then the other person I want to acknowledge is CJ Hawkins. CJ, raise your hand. People should know who you are. I knew about CJ before I got to meet CJ, and it was really cool, and I had these amazing experiences throughout in Madison, where it was like a tour of meeting some of my heroes. I like to joke that I had an amazing time. I carried trays of brats with Rich Trumka. I did all these other cool things, and no, that's not a joke, it's real. The joke goes longer than that, but I don't know. I like to joke that the best thing that came out of it was that my ribs were not broken when Big Leo Gerard from the United Steelworkers gave me a bear hug. I thought I wasn't going to be able to breathe, but CJ is an organizer, does faith labor organizing with the Rise. And she played a really critical role, and there's a lot of people who played really critical roles throughout. And I think you made the point that there were so many different things that created chains of events. There was a Sunday in the Capitol where we were very certain we were going to be kicked out, and that was kind of a running joke. I heard we're going to get kicked out of the Capitol tonight, which now when I look back at it is a really surreal thing to be contemplating how we deal with this. But we built up for a well-organized effort preparing for people to take arrest and engage in a large-scale civil disobedience. CJ organized clergy and was really instrumental all along in making it possible for us to take disciplined action. As much as things were spur of the moment, there was a lot of discipline and good organizing. And I guess that's the point I'd like to make more than anything, is that organizing matters. I suspect if you're in this room, you have an inclination that that is probably true. Believe you me, it is. And that's what I want to spend, how much time do I have? 3-4 minutes?
Yeah, like 4.
Okay. I want to tell you a story, and I'll offer some analysis later. Because I think big mobilizations and the work of movements, the activities of movements, happen not just because there's magic in the air, although CJ and I were talking about this right when I walked in, that it's indescribable. Words are not going to be able to capture things, so if you weren't there, I'm sorry, I can never do, I mean, maybe your tweets.
The tweets do.
Your tweets. By the way, 72-year-old women handing out vegan cookies in Madison is a pretty regular. The magic of movements and mass mobilizations, I like alliteration in grad student, and it makes writing more interesting, happens because people do organizing and create the possibilities for things to blow up. And there's a lot of folks who've gone well before those of us who were involved in the uprising in February, who were doing some great organizing in the city of Madison and the state of Wisconsin for a long time. And lightning did not strike when they did great organizing. It happened to strike when we were there. So I guess I feel like I'm in a little bit of a privileged position to be able to talk about that because it struck. But we did ourselves right, and I think did a lot of people right by organizing. The story actually begins on November 12th, and Andrew was part of this too. At the Alliance of Graduate Employee Locals Conference, that's AFT-affiliated grad unions, on November 12th in Ann Arbor, Michigan, I got a phone call from one of my mentors. He's a great trade unionist, head of the faculty union at Milwaukee Area Technical College, comes out of the student who left from way back in the day and has just done a number of great things for me in thinking about organizing and movement building. And we had this phone conversation, went on about an hour and a half. It was right after the election of 2010 when Walker and the Republicans really wiped out, not just any Republicans, but like real reactionaries. They wiped out any hope of contesting for power in state politics and not moving an agenda, even defending against a terrible regressive agenda. So we were thinking, like organizers do, how do we build a fight back? And we started going down the list and really thinking strategically about this. And I won't do anyone harm to their reputation by talking about who wasn't going to lead the fight back and push back against the Walker agenda. What we really decided, I think rather presciently, was that if there's going to be a real fight back against the Walker agenda, people are going to take action and do it in a way that's unconventional, non-traditional, and something that really does put the question of who governs to issue. It was going to come from campuses, and of course I really like that because I spend all my time on a campus. But it was analytical. Students, young people, folks of my generation. Well, we face an incredibly scary world, and the politics of austerity confronting us head on. When we graduate, we enter a world where there are no jobs, and we've taken on tens of thousands of dollars in debt, believing in an American dream that certainly no longer exists for our generation, and it did for those who came before us. There's some anger, some righteous anger, and some moral force behind our willingness to call the question on whether or not the political economy that we have works. And at the same time, there's also just the ability to take action of students. And we're fortunate in that at UW-Madison, some of us have worked hard to build a student left on campus. In fact, the spring before, we had built, I would call it a very successful grassroots student organizing campaign to beat a referendum to increase our segregated fees. And we took it to the people of the student body as a question of whether or not public higher education should be a real thing, or if we should continue to marketize all of the institutions of society. Highfalutin stuff, but it worked. And the largest student voter turnout in the history of the UW system, we kicked ass and won 2-1. We learned that organizing works, and we started to build a real organizable, mobilizable student left. After this conversation on November 12th with Michael Rosen, that's the guy's name, we went to work and started building the Student Worker Alliance. And we knew that there was going to be a proposal to privatize the university. We knew there'd be various attacks on public employees and worker rights. We knew that there were going to be a whole host of things that we thought were just plain and simple bad news. The real work, though, was not in building a campaign to oppose privatization or a campaign to oppose threats to worker rights or to do any different things. We worked to build a shared analysis and a shared vision amongst students and workers that not just that we would come out for their fight, but they'd come out for our fight, but that our fights were one and the same, and that if we were going to have any chance of winning, whether it was stopping bad things or creating a vision for a more affirmative vision for the world we want to live in, it was only going to be if we built the shared analysis, a shared vision, and a shared program around it. I'm getting the sign that it's about time. So I'm going to try to wrap up super quickly, and I feel like I'm doing you an injustice.
Two more minutes.
You don't want to do the people an injustice. You don't want to be the Scott Walker. So we built this over months and months and months, and on the night of Scott Walker announcing his bill, we actually had a meeting of people who were going to run as part of the Student Worker Alliance for a slate on the student government, essentially on the platform that we use the institution of student government to fight for worker rights and to protect public higher education. That meeting was a bunch of students, and what happened there was that folks decided we were going to turn the action that we had planned for the following Monday away from being about public higher education funding. It was a Valentine's Day action, very cute Valentine's Day. I heart UW, like I heart New York. Governor Walker, don't break our heart. We decided that we were going to turn that from being focused on public higher education funding and students to one about worker rights. And it was a very easy transition for people to make because they had that shared analysis, that shared vision. We had done the deep organizing work. We had built relationships over months. It was very easy for student activists to say, I'm going to stand up for worker rights. I'm going to fight for labor because that's really what this whole thing is about. And we marched on the Capitol with about 1,500 people, brought thousands of Valentines. And I remember standing on the steps saying, we'll come back the next day with twice as many people, not knowing at all if that was going to be correct. Turns out I looked really for saying that because, you know, tens of thousands of people showed up because of the work of so many other folks around the state who did, for the first time in their lives, real organizing, real taking of collective action, and building something really cool and amazing. So I wanted to share that story because I think it's been untold, and it points to the work of, in many ways, nameless, faceless people who just did the real activism